Okay, this morning session has 3 talks. And yeah, so we are preparing for the slide. So hold on. Okay, looks great. So the first presenter for today is Yoshimoto, and this project is Zhou, Hiromi Kaji, and Tamami Shimada, and the title of the talk is the discourse function of aspects in Japanese. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. Okay, I'll talk about aspect in Japanese, which is the so first of all mean the presence of the tail form and its absence are usually called the non-tail form. These forms have mainly been studied on a single sentence basis. In this paper, we shed light on reference points. First, we investigate if we should adopt the concept of reference point, or we can do away with it. And if we adopt it, we need to examine its definition. Furthermore, we will formalize different usages of aspectual forms with a reference point as a key concept. Lastly, we will examine if real complicated text can be analyzed on the basis of the reference point. Camper and Riley 1993 applied event semantics to elucidation of tense and aspect in English. They specify relationships of an event or state to a temporal location and the utterance time. They use a reference point to rate the temporal meanings of sentences. So here is a simple example discourse. Okay. The first sentence, a man enters the pub, introduces the event E1, okay, which is the reference point is identified with this one. Okay? And the second sentence, he was wearing a black jacket, is a static sentence. And therefore, its eventuality is represented as S2. And this is included by the reference point, which is identical with E1. So that means that S2 includes E1. And the last sentence, Bill served him a beer. So this is the event E3. And that occurs in succession to the reference point, which is still identical with E1. Discourse and Asher 1993 cover more complicated temporal relationships between eventualities than Camper and Riley by introducing discourse relations, which capture the rhetorical role of an utterance by investigating how it relates to others. They do away with reference points, directly establishing relationships between eventuality pairs by reference to a discourse relation or an actions arc. And Russian Discourse 2003 give accounts of discourse understanding, similar to Discourse and Asher 1993, with segmented discourse presentation theory. They don't offer a systematic treatment of tense and aspect, but do analyze some temporal relations as directly derived from discourse relations, as in Discourse and Asher 1993. We propose to adopt reference points for the interpretation of tense and aspect in context with Discourse and Asher 1993 for the following reasons. First, we have such a sentence which is usually considered as having a perfect meaning. 昨日は5時には帰宅していた. I was home by 5 o'clock yesterday. Okay, and this temporal adverbial 5時には means a limit by which the event is accomplished. Okay, so such a temporal adverbial clearly introduces a reference time. That's one reason. And second, for the lexical description of temporal verbs with context-dependent meanings, such as sonogo after that, then jitsu the previous day. So for the lexical description of these words or phrases, we need a reference point for the basis of interpretation. And third, actually, a sentence with tail with a continuous meaning can occur alone without any neighboring sentences. And that means that that leads to hypothesizing an implicit reference point, which is supported by the extra linguistic context. And lastly, some of tail sentences with experiential usage perform the role of an event in the discourse, but depicted from the perspective of a certain point of view, okay, as we will discuss later. This kind of sentence can be accounted for only with a concept of reference point. Now, these facts motivate us to establish reference points as discourse reference. In doing so, we have to investigate information not only from predicate meanings, as Kampanari did, but also from those of temporal verbs. Moreover, a task still remains to apply reference points to real texts with complicated structure. Of the four usages of the tail form, let's focus on the continuous one. So let's see how the tensor aspect in this text. Okay, this is actually the first part of the text. Okay, let's see how this is analyzed. Now, the first sentence, the first clause says, A 君は直ちに動詞を記号して。Oh, so that actually means a student named A rallied, so called for his fellow students to gather. Okay. So now this is analyzed as a segmented discourse representing structure, SDRS, tagged by Taiwan, like this, okay, where only the relevant part is shown. And we have a okay, this is a definition for the reference time. And the first part is, the former part is for cases in which, the sentences have a temporal variable which limits the cognition, okay, as we saw in the last slide. And the latter part is for cases without a limited variable, temporal variable. But if a certain constituent is an event, or at least the main event of a certain constituent is an event, then its main event becomes a reference point of that constituent. Okay? And this part of the rule applies to this. So the reference point of this SDRS is actually the event of the main predicate, that is E1. Next, the second clause, strike を測った、strike をかけた、he planned a strike in the class, is process resulting in SDRS with analysis for this clause, which is similar to the first one. Now the question arises of how the SDRS for the two clauses are related. It assumes from word knowledge that the event described by the first clause, gathering students can naturally lead to for something to happen. That is strike in this case. Okay. In other words, the first occasion the second. In such a case, the rule 3 stipulates that the discourse relation narration is inferred by default. Okay. We consider both the eventualities to be non-static. Okay. This is a constraint. The rule 4 says that whenever narration holds between two clauses, the reference points occur in a succession started by an interval of some length, which is compliant with the word knowledge. This relation, and we use this symbol to mean this. So natural sequence is just the same thing as this symbol. Next, the third sentence, Zhen got killed with no author in matter. The whole class was thrown into confusion, or the whole class was in confusion. Is process to produce conditions which are not much different from the formal ones. Okay, actually, here, so here is a kind of actually these things should appear here, but they are just omitted. Okay? And the third one is here. The fourth sentence, 私は恐怖のために震えて、わなわなと震えていた。is, so I was trembling for fear. Okay? Is a static sentence with tail form, which is a continuous usage. For this kind of sentence with a continuous meaning, we assume the same kind of recursive conditions as Kaplan-Riley Riley's analysis of the progressive in English. So here is a function SRP. This means sister's reference point. So that means by force SRP is RP, that is reference point of the counterpart with which by force is rated by a certain discourse relation. Okay. And at this stage of single sentence based analysis, the SDRS by 4 remains underspecified because the value of this SRP by 4 is not determined yet. The SDRS by 3 and by 4 are connected by a discourse relation background, a kind of subordination. The rule 6 applies to the two SDRSs, okay, by 3 and by 4, for which a subordinating relation holds. It creates the reference point of the former SDRS with a super reference point of the latter SDRS. So with this rule, SRP, sister reference point of pi 4, is the reference point of pi 3. That is actually R3. So that means that as a result, S4 overlaps with R3. Okay, this is what this rule does. The whole SDRS for text 2 explicitly represents the relationships between reference points as R1 followed by R2. Actually, this is a mistake. So this should be R3. R2 is followed by R3. You see? And here we have this one. 2 S4 overlaps with R3, which is a variance point of pi 3. So here, the value of this is determined. Okay. So in this way, the addition of reference points as discourse reference represents a temporal development of text in an indirect, intuitively comprehensible manner. Our formalization has captured the parallelism between tense aspect and reference by MPs as pointed out by Party 1973. An event introduced into the context a new reference point, which provides a basis for interpretation of states. Specifically, both the stative aspect and anaphora remain underspecified with a single sentence when a single sentence has been analyzed, needing information from the context. On the other hand, difference has been made clear. Reference by anaphora is essentially ambiguous, since its antecedent needs to be chosen from among multiple candidates. By contrast, the reference point is exceptionlessly identified with that of the constituent paired by a discourse relation without a need for further ambiguation resolution. The experimental usage of the tail form indicates that eventualities that occurred in the past exert an time. In some cases of this usage, none of its results, but only its record remains. So as in this discourse. 影道欧州白川で熊が熊の子を連れて通るのを見かけた。そこで日記に子供に一目見せたいと記す。So this guy saw something very strange when he was in travel. And so he took a This type of the tail sentence has a noticeable feature of being combined by discourse narration with another clause. Thus, we need to treat it as an event while assigning another pieces of information typical with the tail form, including assignment of a reference point. So that bell means 15 minutes or
15, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here is an SDRS for this sentence, which is analyzed as an event. Okay. At the same time, a state S is specified in such a way that it starts when E ends and overlaps with a reference point R0. R0 is identified with a reference point at the global level, the term in this case. So I mean, so although this is a sentence with tail form, this should be a start in a narration relation with other sentences. So this should be treated as an event in spite of having the tail form. But in other respects, this sentence has the similar features as tail sentence. So quite contradictory, and that is the proposal. So the main eventuality is analyzed as an event, but the sentence has other features as a stated one, okay, like other tail sentence. Note that the reference point is indispensable to clarify the distinction from sentences without the tail, which is neutral in terms of point of view. Okay, our last task. The studies on interpretation of tenses in text have so far been limited to cases with relatively simple text structure. It is yet to be seen if the reference point defined above can be applied to real text. Here is a typical case of a text with some complexity, where a constituent with which elaborates a preceding sentence is a complex one. Okay, pi 2 and pi 3 elaborate the first sentence by one, but these are made up of two sentences. And the point is, this sentence is time, a Sunday, a happy Sunday, and this is inflated by two sentences, but only partly. By two inflates only the morning part of the Sunday, and by three only the latter part. And this kind of some complicated structure is quite often in real text. In this text, sentences pi 2 and pi 3, which elaborate pi 1, share the time of spending a happy Sunday with the first sentence. However, they don't indicate its reference point as a whole. Rather, it is split into two parts, one of which precedes the other. To cope with such cases, we need to revise the rule so that the two consecutive sentences, pi 2 and pi 3, may each share only a part of the reference point of the constituent derivative. Okay. As a conclusion, in this paper, we have discussed aspects in Japanese as markers of temporal relationships between eventualities. Specifically, we have focused on reference points we have pointed out that in order to establish a reference point in the context, information from different sources must be integrated. We have also attempted a task about applying reference points to text with complicated structure. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have 10 minutes for discussion. So if you are on-site presenter and then have a question, please come to the front to this Q&A desk. And if you are online presenter, attendee, and then want to ask a question, please use raise the hand function.
Thank you for the talk. And my question is about the experiential use. Experiential, okay. So that specific Shirishite case, well, I actually couldn't follow the discussion and
Sorry.
enough to get the point of this, but can I understand it like first question is just the describing the event in the past, and first sentence is describing the event in the past, and the second sentence, the content of the second sentence must follow immediately. Must be some event which follows immediately after event of the first sentence, but it introduces some. I can read it as it is described from the current perspective, and there is it's a description event has completed from the perspective of the speech time, but actually, the content of that describing is immediately after the first event. So you want to treat it as a past event, and there is just a narration relation between the first and second. But in this case, I'm wondering about actually walked down the discourse relation and its annotation in 8 years ago, and we felt much difficulty in treating like these cases, and because I understand your point, but this introduces the second sentence kind of changed the mode of describing things, right? So the speaker was talking about the past sequential events, but suddenly it draws our attention to the current state of speech time from the perspective of current time, and suddenly we look back what had happened in the past. So that kind of change of mode reflected in the discourse relation, or can we
okay. I understand what you say. Yeah, that's exactly, that's the point. Yeah, actually, just to study discourse relation is a very, very difficult task.
Yeah, and annotating discourse relation is as difficult as
yeah, no, nobody can do it properly. There is no political theory to properly handle it, I think. Yeah, but okay. For this example, or for this research, we just focused on the, how do I say, the factual aspect of it.
I mean, you mean the contents?
Yeah, content. Yeah. Something happened after that, immediately after that. So it must be the narration must cover it. Okay, we don't say that's all about it, but at least two things happen in succession, and that's part of the meaning should take it. And what is you said is quite important, I think. Yeah, something essential. But so far we just say that there is a perspective, a point of view which is represented by R0. That's all. Yeah, we need still much to do.
Okay, yeah, it's understandable.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Very good advice. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the audience or from Zoom? And then, there's a hand. So Yamada Sensei, could you unmute yourself and then ask
Thank you.
question?
So it's an interesting talk, and I have one small question about the example of Kagemichi. So the one now on the screen.
Yeah.
What will happen if he write 子供に一目見せたいと記していた? What will happen?
Or Shirishita.
So in Hokkaido, maybe I sometimes hear that things like this. 清宮選手は昨年7本のホームランを打っていました。Sometimes announces says that way.
So it is
I would say 清宮選手は昨年7本のホームランを放っています。But some when in Hokkaido said 放っていました。Is there any difference between meaning by using ている and ていた?
Okay.
In such cases.
So I know nothing about the dialect in Hokkaido, you know. So I should talk about the standard meaning. Yeah.
So one question, is it non-standard? If in this example 7, it is written 記していた, is it non-standard?
Oh, the things are complicated. What you say is complicated, I think. So we separate the two things. How people speak in Hokkaido, that is quite a little bit different.
Forget about Hokkaido. So maybe it's a dialect or maybe Hyojin, I don't know. Anyway, if
so let's focus on the standard language meaning. Okay. Is it okay?
So what I am asking that if the example 7, if it is written that 記していた, is it non-standard?
Well, okay. Suppose that this is said in standard language. Okay.
Yes.
That's all what I can say. In that case, yeah, okay, 記していた is okay, but I think it is seen from a certain point of view, which is located in the past. Okay. So in some point in the past, that action or performance of writing a diary has been finished. Okay, and the result remains. And somebody sees the diary and okay, this guy has done such a thing. Okay?
Then by contrast, what does it means if this you say 記している, how it is different from the meaning of when it was written 記していた?
Okay, what I've just said is all I can say.
Yeah.
So at a certain time in the past, the action of writing a diary has been finished. Okay? And the result remains.
When written いた or いる?
With 書いていた、記していた。And 記している is in this case, I don't know if the diary remains here, okay? But the record remains. So the fact that the record of writing the diary
I see.
is still
So
that fact still remains now. Okay?
So in a sense, it's not just talking about the past event, but rather facts about record.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have still time for quick comment or question.
Clarification. What seems to be saying the result is there that this is a perfective use of Peiru, right? I mean, especially with Teita, what you said, that the doctor is reading. So it's not continuous, it's a perfective use, right? So will you just explain?
I don't know. Yeah.
Perfective aspect, right?
Sorry. はい、記していた maybe may have a perfect meaning.
Okay.
But this example is a little bit different because nothing remains. No, even if no result remains, we can say so.
Okay, so that's so that what he asked, it was was perfective meaning, right? And you
Yeah, yeah.
explained perfective, but this you're contrasting, there's no perfective aspect.
Perhaps,
At least
yeah,
you're not,
it depends on the definition.
okay,
So different people say different things.
okay.
Yeah.
But that is not clear, but what Taita would be very clear that is a perfective, right? What you,
Yeah, I think, or maybe on the whole, probably.
okay.
Okay, so I think it's time to stop. Let's thank the speaker again. Thank you.
Thanks so much.